You know what's fascinating about the Sigma male? He'll build an empire in silence, master skills that take others a lifetime to develop, solve problems that would break ordinary men, and then look in the mirror and see nothing special. Just a guy doing what needs to be done. If you're watching this right now, chances are you've experienced this exact paradox. You've achieved things that should make you proud, yet pride feels foreign. You've developed capabilities that others admire, yet admiration feels uncomfortable. You've become someone that people depend on, yet you still see yourself as somehow inadequate, somehow not enough. This isn't imposter syndrome. This isn't low self-esteem. This is something far more complex. It's the curse of self-awareness combined with impossibly high standards, the burden of seeing the gap between who you are and who you could be. The tragedy of being so focused on the next mountain that you can't see the ones you've already climbed. Here's the truth we're going to explore today. The same qualities that make the Sigma male exceptional are the exact qualities that prevent him from seeing his exceptionalism. The independence that enables his achievements blinds him to recognizing those achievements. The self-awareness that drives his growth distorts his self-perception. The high standards that produce excellence make that excellence invisible to him. This isn't about seeking approval or needing external validation to feel worthy. This is about gaining perspective on a life lived so consistently well that its extraordinariness became invisible to the person living it. It's about understanding that you can maintain your independence while acknowledging your impact. Preserve your self-authority while accepting external perspective. Stay true to your internal compass while recognizing that others see the trail you've blazed more clearly than you do. So if you've ever wondered why success feels empty, why achievements feel ordinary, why you can't seem to appreciate your own growth, this video is for you. And if you're serious about understanding Sigma male psychology at the deepest level, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel goes deep into the paradoxes and internal battles that no one else talks about because they don't understand them. Let's begin with the first paradox, the mirror they refuse to look into. 1. The mirror they refuse to look into. The Sigma male stands before success like a stranger at his own victory party. While others celebrate their wins with social media posts and public declarations, the Sigma man quietly closes another chapter of achievement and immediately asks, "What's next?" This isn't humility, it's something deeper, something almost tragic. He's engineered his entire existence around internal metrics that are impossible to satisfy. Every mountain climbed reveals 10 more peaks in the distance. Every goal accomplished becomes instantly ordinary in his mind. The mirror doesn't reflect greatness to him. It shows only the gap between where he is and where his relentless standards demand he should be. This is the first paradox. The same internal compass that drives him to excellence also blinds him to recognizing it. He's built a fortress of achievement that he refuses to live in, always sleeping outside its walls, always building the next one. 2. Excellence hidden behind indifference. Watch a Sigma male receive praise and you'll witness a masterclass in deflection. It was nothing, he'll say, and he genuinely means it. But here's what's happening beneath that casual dismissal. He's measuring his work against an invisible standard that exists only in his mind. A standard so elevated that even his best work falls short. When he completes a project that others call genius, he sees only the compromises he made, the shortcuts he took, the superior version that existed in his imagination. This indifference isn't false modesty or social posturing. It's the natural byproduct of a man who competes exclusively with himself. The problem? He's racing against a version of himself that doesn't exist yet, chasing potential rather than acknowledging actualization. His excellence becomes invisible to him precisely because it's wrapped in the ordinary packaging of his daily routine. What took others years to master, he accomplished months ago and filed away as basic competence. 3. The weight of silent achievements. The Sigma male carries victories like stones in his pockets, heavy, unspoken, accumulating. He solved problems that would have broken others, navigated crises that never became public knowledge, built skills in the shadows that others spend lifetimes developing in the spotlight. But here's the cruel irony. Achievements without witnesses begin to feel like they never happened. Not because he needs applause, but because the human mind requires some form of external validation to calibrate its internal measuring system. When every win is private, when every breakthrough happens in solitude, the Sigma male loses perspective on his own growth. He's like a man climbing a mountain in complete darkness. He knows he's ascending, feels the burn in his muscles, but can never look down to see how far he's come. These silent achievements stack up, creating a resume of excellence that exists nowhere but in the lived experience of his solitary journey. The weight isn't the achievements themselves, it's carrying them alone. 4. Why validation feels like weakness. To the Sigma male, seeking validation is like asking permission to exist. It represents a fundamental betrayal of his core operating system, a system he's spent years, sometimes decades, building, testing, and refining in the crucible of solitary experience. He's constructed his entire identity on internal authority, on the radical and revolutionary ability to determine his own worth, independent of external opinion, social consensus, popular approval, or the fickle judgments of a world that changes its standards with every passing trend. This isn't a philosophy he adopted casually. This is a survival mechanism he developed through experience, through watching others crumble under the weight of seeking approval, through witnessing the destruction that comes when a man builds his identity on the shifting sands of other people's opinions. He saw the trap early, that those who live for the applause of others become slaves to that applause, that external validation is an addiction with diminishing returns, that the moment you need someone else to tell you you're good enough is the moment you've already lost yourself. So when someone offers praise, when recognition comes his way, something profoundly strange happens in his psychological machinery, something that would seem like ingratitude to outside observers, but is actually the manifestation of a deeply held principle. Instead of accepting it as simple truth, instead of basking in the warmth of acknowledgement, he instinctively questions it with the same rigor he applies to everything else in his life. His mind becomes a courtroom where the compliment is put on trial. They don't see the full picture, he thinks, his mind immediately and automatically cataloguing every hidden flaw, every shortcut taken, every compromise made that the praise giver couldn't possibly know about. If they knew what I know about my shortcomings, about the internal battles I'm losing daily, about the massive gaps between my current state and my potential, about the moments when I almost quit, about the times I took the easier path when the harder one was available, they wouldn't say that. They couldn't say that. This response isn't insecurity in the traditional sense. It's not fear of inadequacy or imposter syndrome or low self-esteem. Those diagnoses completely miss what's actually happening. It's something far more complex and far more principled, a refusal to let others define him, even positively, even when the definition is flattering, even when the judgment is favorable. It's a fierce, almost aggressive protection of his right to be his own judge, jury, and ultimate authority on the question of his own worth. The Sigma male has learned something that most people never grasp, that positive external judgment and negative external judgment come from the same source, rely on the same mechanism, create the same dependency. If you accept praise from others as truth, you must also accept criticism from others as truth. If you let them build you up, you must let them tear you down. If their approval matters, their disapproval must matter equally. And he's decided with absolute finality that neither will have power over him. But in rejecting external validation entirely, in building walls against even positive external input, in creating a completely closed system of self-assessment, He's also rejected a crucial mirror for seeing himself accurately. He's thrown out the baby with the bathwater, discarded a valuable data source, along with the manipulation and dependency he was trying to avoid. The Sigma male has created a closed feedback loop where the only judge is his harshest critic, himself. And that judge is merciless. That internal judge knows every failed attempt, every moment of doubt, every time he fell short of his own impossible standards. That judge has access to the internal footage that no one else can see. The struggle behind the success, the fear behind the courage, the uncertainty behind the decisive action, the chaos behind the calm exterior. That judge sees the 100 times he wanted to quit before he finally succeeded. That judge remembers every shortcut, every compromise, every moment when he chose the good instead of the great because he was tired or scared or overwhelmed. This internal judge operates with a level of intimacy that makes objectivity impossible. It's like asking a surgeon to operate on himself. He has all the technical knowledge but none of the necessary distance. The Sigma male judges himself by what he knows he's capable of, not by what he's actually achieved. He judges himself by his potential, not his reality. He judges himself by the perfect version that exists in his imagination, not by the actual human being who exists in the world. And here's where the tragedy deepens. Validation feels like weakness, because accepting it would mean admitting he needs something from others. It would mean opening a door he's deliberately locked, bolted and barricaded. It would mean acknowledging that external perspective has value, that his self-assessment might be incomplete or distorted, that perhaps, just perhaps, other people see things about him that he can't see about himself, and needing anything from anyone, that's the one dependency he can't tolerate. It's the crack in his self-sufficient armor that he spent his entire adult life ensuring never forms. The Sigma male has constructed his identity around not needing approval, not needing validation, not needing recognition, not needing emotional support, not needing assistance, not needing anything that would make him vulnerable to another person's choices, moods, or availability. This radical self-sufficiency is both his strength and his prison. It's given him a freedom that most people never experience, the freedom to act according to his own judgment, to pursue his own path, to define success on his own terms. But it's also isolated him in a way that makes accurate self-perception nearly impossible. So he starves himself of the very feedback that might help him see his greatness, choosing the familiar pain of isolation over the unfamiliar vulnerability of being truly seen, truly recognized, truly appreciated. He'd rather be alone with his harsh self-judgment than risk the dependency that might come with accepting another person's perspective. He'd rather underestimate himself than risk the weakness of needing someone else to tell him he's good enough. The tragic irony? The same independence that makes him exceptional is the force that prevents him from seeing his exceptionalism. The same self-reliance that enables his achievements is the barrier that keeps him from recognizing those achievements. He's built a prison of self-sufficiency so complete that even compliments can't penetrate its walls. And inside that prison, he continues to push himself harder, achieve more, climb higher, all while genuinely believing he's just doing what anyone would do, what anyone should do, what's simply expected of a man who takes himself seriously. He doesn't see that anyone doesn't do it. He doesn't see that most people quit at the first obstacle while he persists through the 100th. He doesn't see that his normal is everyone else's exceptional. He doesn't see that the standards he applies to himself would crush most people before breakfast. He doesn't see any of this because validation, the very thing that might show him, feels like weakness. And weakness is the one thing the Sigma male has spent his entire life refusing to be. 5. Strength disguised as solitude. The Sigma male's solitude isn't loneliness. It's sovereignty. It's a throne he's claimed in the kingdom of his own making, a citadel where he rules absolutely and answers to no one, a domain where his word is law and his judgment is final. But somewhere in that fierce independence, somewhere in that magnificent self-sufficiency, somewhere in the construction of this autonomous empire, he's confused being alone with being complete. He's mistaken isolation for evolution, convinced himself that needing no one is the same as being whole, that independence from others equals fulfillment, that self-sufficiency is the same as self-actualization. His strength is undeniably, objectively, measurably real. This isn't illusion or compensation or performance. The ability to stand unmoved when others crumble under pressure, that's real. The capacity to make critical decisions without committees or consensus, without needing to poll the room or wait for group agreement, that's real. The power to build empires without partners or permission, to create something from nothing using only his own vision and will, that's real. The endurance to carry weight that would crush ordinary men without complaint or visible strain, to bear burdens that would send others to therapy or breakdown, that's real. He's the rock in every storm, the one constant when everything else is chaos. He's the foundation others build on, whether they're conscious of it or not. He's the gravitational center that holds everything together, even when chaos reigns, the fixed point around which everything else orbits. Family members depend on him. Colleagues rely on him. Friends turn to him when their worlds fall apart. And he handles it, all of it, without buckling, without breaking, without even seeming particularly stressed about it. This isn't performance or pretense. It's genuinely who he is at his core, in his DNA, in the fundamental architecture of his character. The strength isn't something he puts on. It's something he can't turn off. It's as natural to him as breathing, as automatic as a heartbeat. When crisis comes, he doesn't have to decide to be strong. He just is. When others panic, he doesn't have to choose to be calm. Calm is his default state. When chaos erupts, he doesn't have to try to be the stable center. That's simply the role he occupies, as natural as gravity. Yet this same strength, this very real and genuinely admirable capacity for independent operation, creates a massive blind spot in his self-perception. It generates a distortion in how he sees himself that would be almost comical if it weren't so tragic. When you're always the strong one, when you're consistently the last man standing, when you're perpetually the foundation that others build their lives upon, something strange happens to your baseline. You forget that strength itself can be a cage. You normalize the extraordinary. You begin to believe that carrying the world on your shoulders is just what shoulders are for, that everyone's shoulders work this way, that this is simply what adult humans do. His solitude has become both his superpower and his limitation, his greatest asset and his hidden liability, the thing that makes him exceptional and the thing that prevents him from seeing his exceptionalism. He's so accustomed to carrying everything himself, the decisions, the consequences, the emotional weight, the responsibility, the burden of being the reliable one, that he can't see the extraordinary nature of that carrying. He's lost all perspective on the weight he bears. To him, it's just Tuesday. It's just another day of doing what needs to be done, of handling what needs to be handled, of being who he's always been. Another crisis managed, another problem solved, another burden shouldered, another day of being the foundation. He wakes up, he does what's required, he goes to bed. Repeat. To him, this is normal life, this is just existence, this is what Tuesdays feel like. Everyone else sees Atlas holding up the world, their jaws dropping at the sheer audacity of one man bearing such weight, their minds unable to comprehend how he remains standing under that load. They see him carrying responsibilities that would hospitalize them with stress. They watch him making decisions that would paralyze them with anxiety. They observe him handling emotional weight that would send them into crisis. And they're in awe. They're genuinely stunned by his capacity. But he just feels like a man doing his job, fulfilling his basic function, meeting the minimum standard he's set for himself. When they marvel at his strength, he's confused. What strength, he thinks. I'm just doing what needs to be done. Isn't everyone? When they express admiration for his capacity, he's genuinely puzzled. What's impressive about handling your responsibilities? When they tell him they couldn't do what he does, he doesn't believe them. Of course you could, he thinks. You'd just do it if you had to. Everyone does what they have to do. The disguise is perfect because it's completely unintentional. There's no performance here, no false modesty, no strategic downplaying. His strength doesn't announce itself. It simply exists, constant and quiet as gravity, as unremarkable to him as the air he breathes. It looks like ordinary solitude to him, just a preference for working alone, thinking alone, deciding alone, just the way he's wired, just his personality type, just how he's always been. While others marvel at how he remains standing under weight that would crush them, he's confused about what the fuss is about. Isn't this what everyone does, he wonders, genuinely perplexed by admiration he hasn't sought and doesn't understand. Isn't this just basic adult functionality? Isn't this just what it means to be responsible? Isn't this the baseline, not the exceptional? He's built such a robust internal structure, emotional, psychological, philosophical, spiritual, that he's lost sight of how rare that architecture truly is. Most people are houses of cards, held together by favorable conditions, dependent on external support, one strong wind away from collapse. He's a fortress of stone, self-supporting, weather-resistant, built to withstand sieges. But when you live inside a fortress every day, when you've never known any other structure, when you built it so gradually that you don't remember what it was like before, you forget that most people are sheltering under tin roofs. You forget that your fortress is exceptional because to you, it's just home. His strength has become so integrated into his identity, so fundamental to who he is, so constant in his experience that he can't separate the exceptional from the expected anymore. He can't distinguish between what's natural to him and what's nearly impossible for others. He can't see that his normal is everyone else's extraordinary. He can't recognize that the baseline he's established for himself is a peak that most people will never reach, never even attempt, never even conceive as possible. The solitude that forged this strength now prevents him from seeing it clearly, because there's no one close enough, no one intimate enough, no one trusted enough to consistently remind him of his singularity. He's alone with his strength, which means he's alone with his distorted perception of that strength. There's no mirror close enough to show him what he actually looks like under all that weight he's carrying. There's no witness intimate enough to testify to the daily reality of his endurance. And so the disguise continues, perfect and unintentional. The Sigma male walks through the world carrying mountains, and when people stare in amazement, he looks around confused, wondering what they're looking at, never realizing they're looking at him, never understanding that the weight he carries so naturally is the weight that would destroy them, never recognizing that his solitude isn't just preference, it's proof of a strength so great that he's become unable to see it, like staring at the sun until you go blind to light itself. 6. The paradox of self-awareness. Here's where it gets truly strange. The Sigma male is typically more self-aware than most people. He's done the internal work, examined his patterns, understood his motivations, yet this very self-awareness becomes the mechanism that prevents him from seeing his greatness. He's so intimately familiar with his internal struggles, so conscious of the effort behind his achievements, that the results feel less impressive to him. Anyone could do this if they just worked hard enough, he tells himself, not realizing that most people never will work that hard. His self-awareness shows him the machinery behind the magic, and in seeing how it's done, the magic disappears. It's like a magician who can no longer be impressed by his own tricks because he knows every sleight of hand. The paradox deepens. The more clearly he sees himself, the less he sees his exceptionalism. His analytical mind, which serves him brilliantly in every other area, becomes the enemy of self-recognition. He's solved the equation of himself so thoroughly that he's reduced his greatness to a simple formula, forgetting that knowing the formula doesn't diminish the beauty of the result. 7. Seeing yourself through their eyes. The final revelation comes when the Sigma male accidentally glimpses himself reflected in the eyes of someone who truly sees him. Maybe it's in a moment of crisis when others instinctively turn to him, their faces showing complete trust he didn't know he'd earned. Maybe it's in the quiet confession of someone whose life he changed without realizing it. Maybe it's in the way competitors speak his name, with a mixture of respect and intimidation. These moments crack through his self-perception like lightning through a dark sky. For a brief instant, he sees what others have seen all along, the consistency of his character, the reliability of his strength, the rarity of his self-mastery. But even then, the Sigma male struggles. Seeing himself through their eyes feels foreign, like wearing someone else's clothes. He spent so long defining himself from the inside that external perspective feels distorted, too generous, somehow false. Yet there's a truth in their eyes that his internal mirror has never shown him. They see the whole picture, not just the man and his struggles, but the impact of those struggles, the wake of excellence he leaves behind, the standard he sets simply by existing. Learning to see himself through their eyes isn't about needing validation. It's about gaining perspective on a life lived so consistently well that its extraordinariness became invisible. So there it is, the complete anatomy of why Sigma men can't see their own greatness. 7 layers of paradox, 7 ways that the exact qualities that make you exceptional prevent you from seeing that exceptionalism. You refuse to look in the mirror because what you see never matches the potential you know exists within you. Your excellence hides behind indifference because you measure yourself against impossible standards. Your achievements pile up in silence, gaining weight, but never recognition in your own mind. Validation feels like weakness because you've built your identity on internal authority. Your strength disguises itself as ordinary solitude because you've carried weight for so long you've forgotten most people can't carry it at all. Your self-awareness shows you the machinery behind the magic until the magic disappears, and learning to see yourself through others' eyes feels foreign, uncomfortable, almost wrong. But here's what I want you to understand. Recognizing your greatness isn't the same as needing validation. Seeing yourself accurately isn't the same as becoming dependent on external opinion. Acknowledging your impact isn't the same as building your identity on that impact. The Sigma male's journey isn't about choosing between internal authority and external perspective. It's about integrating both. It's about maintaining your fierce independence while accepting that others see dimensions of you that you can't see from inside your own experience. It's about keeping your impossibly high standards while also acknowledging what you've actually achieved. You don't have to become someone who needs applause. You don't have to lose the edge that makes you who you are. But you do need to understand that your self-assessment, while thorough and honest, is also incomplete. The internal view and the external view are both true simultaneously. The Sigma male who learns this doesn't become weaker. He becomes more accurate. He doesn't lose his drive. He gains perspective. And that clarity, that honest and complete self-perception, that integration of internal and external truth, that's the final evolution of the Sigma male path. You're not ordinary. You never were. The fact that extraordinary has become ordinary to you doesn't make it any less extraordinary. It just means you've normalized excellence to the point where you can no longer recognize it. Others see it. They see the consistency, the reliability, the strength, the standards, the quiet competence. They see how you show up, how you handle pressure, how you maintain your principles. They see the pattern of your life and recognize its rarity. Maybe it's time you saw it too. Not to feed your ego, but simply to have an accurate picture of reality, to see yourself as clearly as you see everything else. So take one more look in that mirror, not with harsh judgment, not measuring yourself against impossible standards. Just look. See the man who kept going when others quit. See the man who maintained standards when others compromised. See the man who built himself intentionally when others just drifted. See the Sigma male you've become. That man, the one in the mirror right now, is worth seeing clearly. If this exploration resonated with you, if it helped you see something you've been missing, then subscribe to Official Sigma Male right now. We go deep into the psychology that others ignore, explore the paradoxes that others don't understand, discuss the internal battles that others don't acknowledge. Hit that subscribe button and let's continue this journey together, becoming more integrated, more self-aware, more capable of seeing ourselves clearly while maintaining the edge that makes us who we are. The Sigma male path isn't easy, but it's worth walking, and you're not walking it alone.